I was weak for years, just like you. My squat got stuck around 160 to 180 kilos, my bench was stuck about 120, and my deadlift got stuck around 200 to 220 kilos. Nowadays, I'm able to squat nearly 250 kilos, I can bench press 160, and I can deadlift 300 kilos because I stopped following generic shitty training programs and I stopped maxing out all of the time. So let me guess, your current approach to training is you just try to add weight to the bar every single week where possible. But what usually ends up happening is it feels super heavy, you fail reps, you max out all the time, and you rarely hit PRs. If you do, they're really small PRs, and some of the times you end up failing weights that you were able to do in the past, so you actually got weaker. Your training has no real structure or planning. There are no pre-planned blocks, no periods of when to push and when to pull back. You just kind of train hard all the time. There's no periodization or structure, no low intensity or high intensity work. If that sounds like you and you want a ready to go strength program to follow, top link in the description, there are 3, 4, and 5 day options with 60 plus weeks of total training. So a few years ago, I was in exactly the same position you're in right now. I followed generic strength training programs, or I just wrote my own program. And basically my approach to getting stronger was I would just try and add weight to the bar every single week. And then if I had a particularly good day where I felt strong, I would max out. Some of those days I'd hit a really small PR. Other days it would feel super heavy and I'd fail the weight, even weights that I'd done in the past. So like I remember when I was first trying to bench 120, I would just try and hit 120 every single week until I got it basically. And it was such a long, slow, unpredictable process because I didn't really know how to get myself to that peak level of strength and how to get past it. It was just kind of a guessing game of just go in, try harder, just try and add more weight to the bar. If I benched 110 this week, I wanted 112 next week, 115 the week after. But as you know, watching this video, it doesn't work like that. And you can't just keep adding weight to the bar over and over again. And before long, you just start failing reps. I felt beat up all the time. My joints were hurting. I had back pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, knee pain, whatever it was, you can name it. The high intensity work in these programs was killing me. I kept failing reps all the time and they encouraged me to max out and follow this stupid approach. Now with my new approach, I can't believe I wasted so much time on these programs. So let me tell you why maxing out regularly is a terrible idea if you want to get stronger. So reason number one, as an intermediate or a more advanced level lifter, you cannot and should not try to PR every week or every couple of weeks. As a novice lifter, sure, you can just keep throwing weight on the bar week after week after week because you're fresh. You haven't built up loads of training stimulus. You haven't had loads of adaptations take place. You can keep just putting weight on the bar. Once you've trained for a while, you can't keep doing that. Otherwise, all of us would be squatting and benching like 1,000 kilos by now. The adaptations slow down. Your body doesn't want to be lifting those kinds of weight and holding a ton of muscle mass. It's not advantageous to you like surviving. Your body just wants to survive and exist. It doesn't want to be super strong and jacked. So because of that, you can't expect to keep just PRing all the time. And if your training is structured in a way that encourages that, it's working backwards. You should be structuring your training in a way that actually allows you to accumulate stress over a longer time period and align with your ability to actually hit PRs on a longer time frame. Reason number two is every time you max out, it completely kills the momentum of your training. And I really like to use the example of saving for a big purchase. So let's say that you were saving for a new car. You open up a savings account and you're going to have to deposit a ton of money in that account to be able to buy the car at the end. So over weeks and months or maybe years, you keep depositing money every single period into that account. Eventually at the end, when you've hit the budget, you can buy the car. This is exactly the same as your strength training. You keep depositing training sessions week after week, month after month, year after year, and eventually you get to a point down the line, 6 months, 12 months, where you're able to hit a PR. If you keep cashing out or you keep maxing out every few weeks or every few months, the account's going to go back down to zero. You've got to start over again to build momentum. Like if you were saving for the car, if you kept spending, account goes down to zero, you have to start from scratch. Exactly the same as with the training. You need to accumulate multiple blocks in succession to be able to PR. So maybe as an intermediate, instead of thinking I'm going to PR every week this block, think I'm going to run 3 blocks back to back of 5 weeks. And on that third block at the end of this cycle, I'm going to aim for a PR there. This actually gives you a predictable method of actually hitting PRs on a long time frame. So let me tell you how to actually implement this. So instead of maxing out every single week, the current approach I use is to use blocks. So I use this block training model where we stack blocks together. Now, the way we do this is, number one, we need to write our first block or our first microcycle. So basically this is your first week of training, and each week is going to form the blocks. So your blocks might be formed of like 5 weeks, for example. So first we need to write week 1. And how do we do it? Basically, I just want you to write yourself an ideal split for the squat, the bench, the deadlift. So let's start with the squat first. Let's say that you know you need to squat 2 times a week to make progress. So let's put those squats on a Monday and a Thursday. That's spread out nicely, and it's going to allow us to be proficient in the squat and keep making progress. Now do the same for the bench press. Let's say that you've determined you need to bench press 3 times a week to get stronger. And you can watch a video here on bench press frequency that might help you determine that. And let's say that you've determined that Monday, Wednesday, Friday is good days for you to bench press, and that's going to allow you to make progress. So now you're starting to build up this split. Then you can just fill in the deadlifting. So maybe you do your deadlifting on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So you've got this split that allocates the work of your main lifts, then you can add in your accessories as necessary. And then you should have a microcycle put together that suits your needs. If you want it written for you, top link in the description, there's a few programs there, or I can write it for you. But by now you should have 1 week of training or a microcycle. You're going to fill in the volumes, the sets, the intensities, the reps and stuff like that based on what you've learned about yourself over the years, and you can use some of my examples. Once we've got that first block of training, or the first week of training, sorry, we need to determine how long the block is going to be. So we've got the first week. Now we need to determine how many weeks we need to piece together to form an actual block. The way you do this is you need to find out your time to peak, or your TTP. This is super simple. Basically, you do the first week of training, and then you move into week 2 and you aim to add weight to the bar on all of the exercises. Then you do it again in week 3, again in week 4, and you basically keep going until you're unable to add more weight to the bar. So let's say that in your block, you go week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and on all of those weeks, you were able to add weight to the bar at the target RPE. So you keep going up and up and up. You get to week 4, you feel really strong, and then week 5, you drop down a bit. Everything feels really heavy, fatigue's quite high, and then week 6, you drop down again. This would tell us that week 4 is probably your peak. So your block should probably be 4 weeks in length. So in block 2, we're simply going to run a 4-week block. In block 3, we're going to run a 4-week block. And now we know your time to peak is 4 weeks. So you run 4-week blocks. And we're going to stack 4-week blocks on top of each other to build to PRs. Now, once you've got these blocks, you've got your first week of training and you've got your blocks, we now need to stack blocks on top of each other, because as I mentioned before, as an intermediate lifter, you can't PR every week. We know this, so let's account for it and plan for it. So let's say that we're going to plan for a PR after 3 blocks. So that would be 12 weeks of training. So on the final week of block 3, you're going to shoot for a PR. So all we would do is run block 1 as slightly lower intensity, block 2 as more moderate intensities, and block 3 as higher intensities, building into a 1 rep max. So block 1 might end at RPE 7.5 to 8 on your top sets. Block 2 might end at like RPE 8 to 8.5. And then block 3 might end at RPE 9 to 10. And it's that simple. We just stack the blocks on top of each other. That allows us to build lots of momentum, accumulate lots of stimulus, see the adaptations happen over a longer time frame, and then hit a big PR. Rather than doing block 1, getting halfway through and trying to max out and cash out and not hitting a PR, so you have to restart. You actually get to piece a lot of training together, because like I said, every time you max out, you take a step back. So be patient, complete these entire blocks. By the end of the 3rd block, that's when you'll see all of your efforts from the previous blocks actually come to fruition, and you'll hit a PR. It's that simple. So I would recommend that you stop with this maxing out weekly approach, or just maxing out and trying to add weight to the bar every single week, and you take a bit more of an intelligent approach. Write yourself 1 week of training, a microcycle. Determine how many weeks each block needs to be by working out your time to peak, and then stack blocks together to actually hit PRs at the end, and plan for long-term progress rather than just cashing out every other week or every other month. Hopefully this concept makes sense in your head and it kind of helps you to formulate some of these ideas. Again, if you want a program that's just written for you, top link in the description. But I really hope this video helped you, and I hope you go ahead to hit lots of PRs in the gym. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, and things like that, post them in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next one.